healing doesn't always look aesthetic and what it actually looks like instead. Some of the most profound moments of healing were the ones I did not want to share with anyone. Healing doesn't always look linear. There is not one particular way to heal. A lot of times, healing is messy. Healing will involve a lot of backsliding. Healing will involve a level of anger and heavy emotions. Nowadays, we are fed that what it means to heal. Healing is given this cookie cutter image, while people who do the work for it will tell you how painful and messy it can be. Thank you for clicking on this video. If this is your first time seeing me, hello. If you're returning, welcome back. And let's go ahead and get started. So today we're going to talk about healing, and we're going to touch on three different topics when it comes to the topic of healing. We're going to talk about walking through our emotions. We're going to talk about backsliding when you are working through your emotions. And then we're going to talk about how you don't really see the results physically a lot of times, but you can feel the results emotionally when it comes to healing. Walking through your emotions. So it depends on what type of emotions you're walking through. For me, what I was walking through was anger. Walking through your emotions sometimes can be one of the hardest things you can do. So before I even started walking through my emotions, I actually had to acknowledge that they were there, because I was the type of person who liked to pretend that negative emotions I was feeling were not there, just because of how I was socialized growing up, because I was always discouraged from feeling angry or sitting in negativity. So I always had this negative connotation with certain emotions like anger or sadness. But you don't have any emotions you have, none of them are bad. Just how you decide to interact with them determines whether they're going to be good or they're going to be bad or not. For me, I think it's good to feel your emotions, but where you start making a mistake is when you allow yourself to sink into those emotions and allow those emotions to take over you. For example, with me, it was anger. Anger was something that I really had to deal with. And I remember when I would allow myself to feel anger, I would feel like so good and powerful in the moment, because I would allow the anger to take over me. Like I would literally just allow it to take over me, because I was dealing with the things where at first I wasn't allowing myself to express my anger. I would push everything down. And then when I felt like, okay, now I'm not going to keep down everything I'm feeling, I started allowing it to take over me. And doing extremes of one or the other one isn't necessarily good. So I had to go through the process of working through my emotions. And the first thing I had to do was acknowledging that those emotions are there. And yes, I'm justified in how I'm feeling, but I cannot allow how I'm feeling to completely dictate where I'm going to go, or how my day is going to go, or how things are going to go for me for the next week, month, year. That was a problem I had to deal with. So it depends on how you choose to walk through it. But I feel the first step is always acknowledging that it's there, acknowledging that what you're feeling is what you're feeling, and then figuring out how it's going to work for you. Because I can't necessarily give somebody any advice and tell you this is how you're going to do it, because everybody's different. I think you have to sit with yourself, sit down and write how you're feeling and what's triggering those feelings within you. After I had finally worked through my emotions, something I had to deal with was that I had to realize that when you do work for something, you're not always going to do it once and then it's done. Sometimes you fall back. So, like when you feel like you have healed certain things, don't just think you heal one, it's one and done, because it's not. Sometimes you slide back into past behavior. Sometimes things that have happened to you, you remember it and it will trigger you. For example, me. Um, I had to learn how to stop remembering things that people did to me or things that people said to me, because I had a habit of sitting in that emotion, sitting in how I felt, sitting in the injustice of how the moment felt, and feeling sorry for myself. And when I started feeling sorry for myself, I would backslide. When I started feeling sorry for myself, then that emotion of being sad for myself would turn into anger at the person for making me feel sad in the moment, or it would turn that sadness into anger from remembering that moment. A lot of times people sit in the discomfort, or they sit in the emotions of the past, and that's what causes the backsliding. Like, it's completely normal to backslide. It's completely normal to have healed an aspect of yourself, and then maybe you participate in that behavior again, because healing isn't necessarily linear, you're good today and tomorrow's not so bad. But all that matters is that you continue to move forward. So even if today was good, but the day before that was bad, and the day before that was bad, it doesn't really matter. As long All that matters is that you're constantly moving forward and you're progressing forward. And that's something I had to learn, that even if I have a bad week, a bad month, as long as I'm making strides every day to try and pull myself out of that bad feeling, I can't lose. I'll eventually get better. So, what I learned was backsliding is completely normal. It's just whether or not you decide if you're going to allow yourself to fully continue to backslide, or if you're going to try and pull yourself out of the momentum of falling backwards. A lot of the healing that you do, you won't necessarily see those results physically at first. First, you will see them emotionally, right? I feel like your internal state, I feel like your physical state is a manifestation of your emotional inside. That makes sense. That makes sense. So, how you're feeling on the inside is what will physically manifest itself on you. So a lot of times when you're healing, when you're working through things, you don't see that result on yourself physically, but you feel it within yourself. You feel it within yourself emotionally. That's why a lot of times when people are going through things, or they're dealing with things internally, it manifests on their body later on. So when you're healing yourself first, you might not be able to see any physical difference. Your face might still look inflamed, because emotions, they do affect how you look. They affect water retention. They affect a lot in your body. So at first, you might not be able to see the physical changes, but you feel different on the inside. On the inside, you feel different, but it's going to take a little bit longer for those changes to show on the outside, because your body has to integrate all of the changes that you have dealt with, all of the changes that you have made, all of the things that you're working through and you're still working through. It'll take a while. That's why sometimes after I have gone through something, after I've worked through something, I just wake up one day, months later, and my appearance looks completely different, because it's like whatever I was holding on to, I've released it, and I just look completely just refreshed. Now, I say all of this not because I'm trying to give advice or I'm trying to be preachy. I'm really just saying this as a way to introspectively look at the things I've dealt with, look at the things I'm still dealing with, and just have it as a log of what I'm dealing with now, right? I am going to use this as a tool to remind myself that I am healing, that healing is not something that's linear for me, that is something that I'm continuously going through, something that I'm doing right now. And it doesn't always have one way of healing. This is just my way. This is just the way that it shows up for me. And I would love to hear how it shows up for you guys. I would love if you guys could share an aspect of an emotion you had to heal through, an aspect of something you had to heal through, if you want to, because sometimes healing through things is not something we necessarily want to share with strangers, or we necessarily want to share. But if you feel called to it, you feel like you want to, I would love to hear how you work through your emotions, or if you've ever had problems working through emotions, or if that's something you didn't have to deal with. So if you've made it this far, thank you. I'm grateful for you sticking with me until here. I would love to hear what you think. I would love for you guys to share this. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, and I will see you guys another time for another introspective thought I might have. Bye bye.